Hi, Reddit. I am Anna. I am 26 years old, and I am the eldest of 3 siblings. If you had told me a year ago that I would need to run a covert psychological operation just to get my family to respect my space, I would have laughed. But here we are. So, some context. A couple of months ago, I finally moved into my first solo apartment. It was not just a box with 4 walls. It was a sleek, bright, beautifully modern one-bedroom on the 4th floor of a new complex. High ceilings, hardwood floors, giant windows, and even a balcony that got golden hour light in the evenings. It was 10 minutes from the house I grew up in, which was intentional. I wanted to stay close enough to be available, because that is who I've always been in my family, but far enough that I could finally breathe. I have always been the dependable one, the second parent, the one who filled the fridge when mom's card declined and kept the house running during school breaks. I babysat my siblings when I was 13. I filed taxes with YouTube tutorials. I edited every single one of my younger brother's college applications while he played video games and shouted down the hallway, "How does this sound?" without reading a word of it aloud. My parents, Linda and Gary, are in their early 50s. They are lovely in that gentle, slightly distracted kind of way. Sweethearts, soft boundaries. My brother Tyler is 22 and still somehow manages to look surprised when bills arrive. My sister Emily is 17, with a sharp tongue, a ring light, and an attention span calibrated exclusively for TikTok. When Dad lost his job last year and Mom picked up extra shifts at the clinic to keep things afloat, I stepped up. I paid part of the mortgage 1 month, I bought groceries, I made sure Tyler had gas money. I let him borrow my car for emergencies, which in his mind included everything from pizza cravings to last-minute hangouts. I did not complain, because honestly, it felt necessary. But I had also been saving. For 3 years, I put away what I could. I skipped trips, bought secondhand clothes, and avoided takeout like it was poison. I was building towards something that belonged to me. So when I finally signed that lease, it felt like the first real breath I had taken in a decade. I bought furniture with my own money. I picked out art. I bought a fancy high-pressure rainfall shower head and soft kitchen lighting that made everything feel warm. I was proud of it. And for about 2 weeks, I was in heaven. Then the visits started. At first, it was small. Tyler dropped by just to hang out and somehow stayed until after sunset, still in my hoodie, eating my snacks, using my Netflix account while I was at work. I came home one day and he was asleep on my couch with the remote balanced on his chest. I did not say anything. I just shook him awake and told him gently to lock up next time. Then Emily discovered the shower. My apartment has great water pressure, and hers at home is less impressive. One day I walked in and found steam billowing out of the bathroom, my Olaplex bottles on the floor, and Emily casually wrapped in my only good towel, scrolling on her phone. "Your water is just so much better," she said. I said nothing. I just cleaned up after her. Then Mom started visiting. At first, it was sweet. She came by on her lunch breaks, said my apartment was so peaceful, and sipped the coffee I brewed while telling me about her shifts. But the visits stretched. She started bringing her own lunch. Then she started making her lunch. One day, I found her slippers by my couch. Another day, I found her refolding my laundry because it was not folded right. I wanted to scream, but I just nodded and thanked her. I told myself they were just adjusting, that they would ease up. They did not. One Friday, I came home to find all of them, my entire family, in my apartment. Emily was curled up on my bed watching YouTube, Tyler was sprawled on the couch with popcorn, and my parents were mid-movie night with soda cans littering the floor. Someone had spilled something sticky on my rug. The kitchen was a disaster. My charger was missing, and my Olaplex shampoo, the one that cost me almost as much as a dinner date, was empty. Completely, utterly empty. I just stood there, and something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clicked. That night, I did not yell. I did not argue. I made myself tea, cleaned up after them, and waited until they left. Then I started planning. If they were going to treat my apartment like a free hotel, then I was going to let them feel exactly how annoying that could be. I was done playing housekeeper. I was going full gremlin. The next morning, I went to the dollar store and bought the cheapest, driest, most basic shampoo I could find. Something labeled Mountain Breeze that smelled like sadness. I emptied the Olaplex bottle and refilled it. That night, Emily showered at my place again. 10 minutes later, she emerged looking confused, touching her hair like it had betrayed her. "Why does my hair feel like straw?" she asked. I shrugged. Then came the spices. I swapped the labels in my spice rack. Cinnamon became oregano, basil became cayenne. Next time Mom made her famous spaghetti for the family dinner she decided to host in my kitchen, she was hit with a mouthful of cinnamon sugar tomato sauce. She blamed the store for mislabeling the jars. I solemnly promised to write them an angry email. Tyler's energy drinks? I drained them, filled them with watered down cranberry juice, and sealed them back up. The man looked like he was going through caffeine withdrawals and started carrying multivitamins, just in case. I acted concerned. I rigged the universal remote. I programmed it so that the volume button changed the channel button turned on captions, and the mute button opened the Netflix home screen. Watching Tyler try to navigate it like it was a bomb about to explode was genuinely therapeutic. But my favorite move, the one I am still proud of to this day, was the milk. I knew they dipped into my milk for cereal and coffee, despite never asking. So I swapped out the food coloring, filled the carton with a pinkish hue, and watched the chaos unfold. Emily thought it was cute and started taking pictures. Tyler looked vaguely ill. Mom was convinced the store had sent expired strawberry milk by mistake. I told them I would call and complain. I did not. Over the course of 4 weeks, things slowly shifted. Tyler stopped just showing up. He texted first, usually with a sheepish, "You home?" Emily avoided my bathroom entirely and went back to her own garden hose shower at home. Mom went from spending her lunch breaks lounging in my apartment to sending me sweet voice notes instead, usually ending with, "Hope you're resting." One evening, I left a note on the fridge. It said, "This was my home. Treat it like one if you want to use it." The next day, Mom called me. She apologized. She said they had gotten too comfortable and forgot that I was building my own life. Dad, who had just started a new job, offered to pay for the rug cleaning. Tyler brought over a tub of actual Olaplex as a peace offering. Emily made a TikTok about strawberry milkgate that got over 1,000 likes. Now, my space is mine again. They still visit, but they knock first. They ask before using anything, and when they leave, they clean up. Boundaries were set, and more importantly, respected. It has been a few months since my apartment turned back into my apartment, since the pink milk, the spice sabotage, and the carefully calculated chaos I used to make my family take a step back and finally recognize that I needed space. Things have been good since then. Peaceful. Balanced. Like we finally found the rhythm we were supposed to have all along. Tyler checks in now. He does not drop by anymore without warning. He has even started paying for his own energy drinks, which feels like a minor miracle. Mom still comes over sometimes, but now she brings pastries from the bakery near her clinic and insists on washing her mug before she leaves. Dad's back at work and spends most of his time buried in spreadsheets, but he texts me every Friday to ask if I want to do brunch on Sunday. Boundaries were not just set. They stuck. But the biggest change? Emily. The same sister who used to walk into my apartment like she was on some personal influencer retreat. The one who hijacked my shower, rearranged my throw pillows without a second thought, and once tried to rearrange my fridge for aesthetic purposes. That Emily, she's 17 now, which is still young enough to make big mistakes, but old enough to start recognizing when you do. Last week, I was making dinner, a lazy version of my mom's mushroom risotto, except with frozen peas and 0 mushrooms, when my phone buzzed. It was a FaceTime request from Emily. That alone was unusual. We mostly text these days, usually silly stuff. Memes, weird filters, one-word messages like "you up" when she needs to vent about some friend drama or post-quiz existential crisis. This time, though, when I picked up, she was crying. And not the theatrical, stomping down the hallway, "life is so unfair" kind of crying that used to echo through the walls of our childhood home. This was quieter, raw. She had just gotten the email. Her dream school had rejected her. She looked gutted. Not just sad, but empty, like something fundamental had cracked and she didn't know how to put it back together. Her eyeliner was smudged, her voice kept catching mid-sentence, and for a full minute, she could barely talk. I didn't ask her to explain. I just told her to come over. Half an hour later, she was on my couch. Same one she used to nap on without warning. The one she'd buried under popcorn crumbs and glittery lip gloss tubes. Now she sat curled up, knees to her chest, face blotchy from tears, not bothering to pretend she was fine. I made her cocoa. The good kind, with oat milk and a little vanilla, because she hates it when it's watery. I didn't try to fix it. I just sat beside her, handed her the mug, and let the silence settle in. The kind of silence that doesn't demand anything, just presence. Eventually, between sips and shaky breaths, she started talking. She told me how she had imagined getting into this school since she was 15, how she had daydreamed about walking across that campus in her favorite boots, coffee in one hand, her future unfolding like a movie, and how now it all felt like a joke. Like all the work, the late nights, the essays and AP classes, the volunteering, none of it had mattered. She said she felt like a failure. And that is when something shifted, because Emily is not the easiest person to read. She is funny and biting and way too good at hiding behind sarcasm. Vulnerability has never come naturally to her. If something hurts, she usually pushes back twice as hard. But that night, she didn't do that. She just let herself be small and tired and honest. Then, out of nowhere, she said something I did not expect. She looked around my apartment, at the clean countertops, the light filtering in through the curtains, the candles I had lit more out of habit than anything, and said, "I know we were annoying before. I didn't get it. But I do now. You're not just my sister. You're your own person." And I just froze. Because for so long, I had felt like I was holding 1,000 things together. The family, the finances, the expectations, my own sanity. I had been the fixer, the helper, the fallback plan. I had made peace with being quietly essential. But I had never really expected anyone to acknowledge it. Not like that. And coming from her, the same girl who once yelled at me because I refused to let her store 6 pairs of boots in my closet for the aesthetic, it meant everything. She stayed the night, not because she wanted to take over my space, but because she genuinely did not want to be alone. I pulled out the extra blanket, let her take the couch, and left a glass of water by her side in case she woke up feeling gross. In the morning, she made the effort to fold the blanket and leave the space the way she found it. She has started applying to backup schools now. She still calls them lame, but I can tell she is letting herself imagine a future outside of her plan A. I told her it's okay to grieve what you thought you wanted and still move forward, that you can have pride in plan B. That rejection does not mean you are broken, it just means the story will be different than you imagined. Since that night, she's been texting me more. Not just meme dumps and OMG look at this dress spam. Real stuff, updates, random thoughts, sentences like, "Do you ever feel like your brain's on shuffle?" Or, "I saw someone today who looked like dad when he was younger." And yes, she's still using the weird pink filtered milk emoji when she texts me. If you had told me 6 months ago that Tyler, the same brother who once tried to microwave an entire frozen pizza still in the box, would be the one to bring me to tears, I would have assumed it was because he crashed my car or broke my TV. But yesterday, it was a different kind of cry. The kind that catches you off guard because it's wrapped in something real and soft and unexpectedly grown up. Tyler has always been the lovable hurricane of our family. Loud, messy, well-meaning, but allergic to responsibility. The kind of guy who shows up late to everything, never charges his phone, and treats time like a vague concept that applies more to other people. When he was younger, he was sweet, but always trailing chaos behind him. School was never his strong suit, and once our dad lost his job, it was like all expectations for him quietly deflated. No one pushed him. No one asked what came next. I did. I always asked, and that meant I became the backup. The rideshare, the emergency bank account, the one who picked him up at 1 a.m. from a house party he didn't remember arriving at, and the one who filled the gas tank because he'd Venmo me later, and the one who let him borrow the car just this once. Spoiler, it was never just once. So when I got my own apartment, I expected it would be hardest for him. Not in an emotional sense. Tyler doesn't do feelings out loud, but in that quiet, practical way where he had to start figuring out life without assuming I was always one phone call away with a solution. And at first, he resisted. Hard. He showed up constantly, ate everything in the fridge, turned my apartment into his personal break room. Then came the pink milk, the watered-down cranberry juice in his energy drinks, the remote control chaos, and eventually, the slow, painful realization that he couldn't treat me like a convenience anymore. Over the past few months, I've seen small changes in him. Nothing dramatic. Just little shifts. He started texting me before showing up. He got quieter, more thoughtful. He stopped asking for my car, which in itself felt like a miracle worthy of a documentary. Then, yesterday, he knocked. That in itself was unusual. Tyler never knocks. He usually just slams the door open with some half-joke about how the place smells like candles and judgment. But this time, it was a knock. Gentle. Measured. I opened the door and he was just standing there, backpack over one shoulder, looking kind of nervous. He didn't say anything at first, just handed me a plain white envelope. I thought it was some dumb prank. Maybe a meme printout, or a coupon for free hugs or something equally Tyler. But inside was $150 in 20s, folded neatly, and a small note in his handwriting, messy, all caps letters like a high school detention essay, that said, "For the gas, and the patience, and the cranberry juice trauma." I froze. Then I laughed. Not a little giggle, a full, doubled over, tears in my eyes kind of laugh. It was so unexpected. and so him, and so sincere in a way I wasn't ready for. I looked up, and he was grinning, but there was something else under it. Not embarrassment, not pride, something quieter, like he was trying to say sorry without making it a big emotional production. He told me he's working now, part-time at a sporting goods store across town. Said it's not much, but it feels good to earn something. He's been learning how to manage his own schedule, how to budget, how to plan a bus route without calling me in a panic. He's still clumsy with it, still forgets little things, but he's trying, and I can see the effort. It's not performative, it's real. Then he pulled something else out of his bag. My spare key, the one I'd given him for emergencies, that had somehow turned into a free pass to my space. He handed it to me and said, softly, almost joking, but with that same serious undercurrent, that he did not need it anymore. Said he'd earned his own door now. There are moments in life that don't come with a soundtrack or a slow zoom, but something about them still makes the air feel heavier, more meaningful. A few nights ago, I had one of those moments, unexpected, quiet, and deeply personal. It started with a knock at the door, not rushed, not loud. Just 3 soft taps, spaced out enough to catch my attention while I was halfway through folding laundry and half watching a baking competition show. I wasn't expecting anyone. It was late, too late for Emily, and Tyler had just texted me a meme 5 minutes earlier, so I knew it wasn't him. When I opened the door, it was my dad. Alone. That alone was surprising. My dad rarely visits by himself. He and my mom are one of those inseparable pairs, the kind that take weekend walks hand in hand and finish each other's sentences with a kind of soft resignation built over 3 decades of partnership. When he shows up somewhere, she's usually just a few steps behind, purse in hand, ready with a story or a snack. But this time, it was just him. He looked different. Not dramatically so. He still had his same quiet eyes, the same windbreaker he's worn since I was in high school, the same slightly awkward posture like he never quite knows what to do with his hands, but something in his face was softer. More tired, maybe, but also more open. He asked if we could talk. No preamble, no small talk. So I made tea. It felt like the right thing to do. It gave my hands something to focus on, while my brain spun in quiet anticipation. When we finally sat down, it was on my couch, his legs too long, his elbows hovering awkwardly like he didn't want to take up too much space. He looked around like he was seeing it for the first time, even though he had been there before, surrounded by chaos and popcorn crumbs. He started talking. He told me he had been thinking a lot about the past year, about how losing his job shifted everything, not just for him, but for the entire family, about how hard it was to look his kids in the eyes and feel like he had let them down. He said there were days when he watched me step up, paying bills, taking care of everyone, keeping things running, and felt equal parts proud and guilty. That he had not said enough, that he had not seen clearly how heavy the load really was. He admitted that sometimes, as parents, you get so used to your kids needing you that when the roles quietly reverse, you do not even notice it right away. You keep asking, you keep leaning, you keep expecting, until one day, your daughter is paying the electric bill and you're eating soup in her kitchen, and you realize the balance tipped when you weren't looking. Then he pulled a small envelope out of his jacket pocket. It was old and soft, the kind of envelope that has probably been sitting in a drawer next to expired coupons and loose batteries. He handed it to me without saying anything. Inside was a check. It wasn't enormous. It wasn't going to change my life or pay off my future. But it was enough to cover half my rent for 2 months. Enough to feel like a gesture with weight behind it. Enough to feel like love. He told me he didn't want me to carry everything alone. That I had earned my space. That my independence wasn't just about living on my own. It was about building a life where I could finally be seen as more than the default fixer. He said I would always have a family who loves me, even if they had to keep learning how to show it better. I didn't cry immediately. I just sat there holding the check, staring at the handwriting on the line, the same handwriting that used to sign field trip permission slips and birthday cards. And it hit me, not all at once, but in waves. The acknowledgement, the humility, the growth. It's easy to underestimate what a quiet man's apology feels like, how much weight it carries when someone who doesn't often say much chooses their words carefully and lays them down like bricks. It's a different kind of love, not performative, not loud, just solid. We talked a little more, about nothing and everything, about how work was going for him, about how Emily was actually starting to look forward to one of her backup schools, about how Tyler had apparently organized a sock display at the store, so well his manager gave him a compliment. That part made us both laugh. When he left, it was late. The hallway outside was silent, and I stood there for a moment after the door closed, holding the envelope in my hands, not entirely sure where to put it. Not because I didn't want it, but because it felt like something more than money. It was a marker of change, a sign that something had shifted. That apartment of mine, my little fortress with the mismatched mugs and the pink milk legacy, it ended up becoming more than just a place to breathe. It became a mirror. It reflected everything we hadn't said to each other when we were too busy surviving. It became a catalyst, a strange, cozy little space that forced all of us to reevaluate what family meant when you removed convenience from the equation. I used to think independence meant isolation, that in order to have boundaries, I had to create distance. But I'm learning now that it's not about shutting people out. It's about making space for healthier versions of the people you love. It's about respect. It's about showing up differently. And yes, it's about being willing to have hard conversations over lukewarm tea on a Tuesday night. I still have that envelope. I'm not sure if I'll cash the check or frame it. It feels symbolic either way. And sometimes, when I open my fridge and see the regular unpink milk sitting on the shelf, I smile. Because that ridiculous prank, that harmless, petty moment of rebellion, it taught me that boundaries don't have to come with ultimatums. Sometimes they come in the form of strawberry-colored lactose and the quiet realization that love doesn't mean ownership. It means learning when to knock before entering. And sometimes pink milk is the best boundary-setting tool a girl could ask for.